John Morgan here with Bob's Marketing Greenhouses, and welcome to this week's episode of Bob's Live, our weekly show right here on the internet. And well, this week I have kind of a special episode because I got to sit down and interview the executive director of the National Garden Bureau. Her name is Diane Blazek. So, without further ado, I'm going to jump right into the interview. So, of course, with everything going on right now, it was previously recorded, but let's check it out. All right, so I'm here today with Diane Blazek, and she is the executive director for the National Garden Bureau. So, first off, would you tell us a little bit about yourself and your background?
Sure. I think the thing that I'm most proud of with my background is that I grew up on a farm in north central Missouri. So my dad farmed about 500 acres, and we were kind of the basic farm, that was around in the 60s and 70s: corn, wheat, soybeans, cows, pigs. I can't say horses. I had a mule that my dad convinced me would be easy to ride that wasn't. Chickens, etc. So, along with the farm, we had a vegetable garden. So, I spent many a summer hours weeding the garden, harvesting the tomatoes, and we canned them, and the carrots, and the peas, and the beans. You name it, I think we grew it, and that was just how I got my start. And then in early adulthood, I what was I doing that? Oh, I was selling greeting cards and wanted a change of pace, and so I saw an ad for a trade magazine. They needed a sales rep, an advertising sales rep, and lo and behold, it was Ball Publishing, and so I got my start in 1993 with Grower Talks magazine and stayed there for 15 years. Took a quick little leap over and landed here at National Garden Bureau and All America Selections.
Okay, so National Garden Bureau, you want to tell us a little bit about it? I know this year is really special for the National Garden Bureau.
Yes, it is. We are very proudly celebrating our 100th anniversary. So it's a big deal for a small nonprofit like this to celebrate. And as it just so happened that our founder, James Henderson Burdett, he was very involved with victory gardens in World War One. And then between the two world wars is when he founded National Garden Bureau, so it was 1920. And then when we got involved with the Second World War, he decided to write a book to help home gardeners, figure out how to grow more of their own vegetables. So he wrote the Victory Garden Manual in 1943 while he was running National Garden Bureau. So all in all, his concept was just, let's make the homeowner more successful. Let's teach them how to grow their own food. Which is what he did with the Victory Garden Manual. And then over the years, he incorporated ornamentals with it. And that is still what we're doing today, is we're inspiring and educating people to be more successful gardeners.
All right, so yeah, you guys literally wrote the manual on victory gardening. And this season on our podcast, we're focusing entirely on victory gardens. And on your website, it's ngb.org, right?
Yes, perfect. It's one
Yes.
of the simplest URLs, I think. There's only 3 letters that, is
Yeah.
basically the acronym for our organization. Yeah, ngb.org.
So if folks head over there right now, you guys have taken Victory Gardens and released Victory Garden 2.0.
Absolutely, we did. Yeah, we're presenting it as a series of blogs. So the blogs is found under the inspiration tab on our website, which makes sense. But we also have links on the front page of it. And right now we have 5 blogs in the series. So the very first one we did was about planning, and and we'll come back to that one because I think it's very interesting how he wrote the book. And then it's on planting, and then we added some options for planting a victory garden in containers or in raised beds. And then we have a member who literally wrote the book on pollinator victory gardening. So that was one of the 5 blog posts. And trust me, we have some additional ones coming up in the future. We'll probably be continuing this all summer, if not into the fall.
Yeah, that's great, because traditional victory gardens, it's a plot of land, straight rows. A lot of people don't have the space to do that nowadays, and other gardening methods like container gardens, raised beds. Person that we had on the podcast last year, Joel Karsten, with straw bale gardening. These are all great options for victory gardens, so it doesn't have to fall into that kind of classic straight row format. You can really take it and go any sort of direction with it.
You're exactly right. And we wanted to make sure that people were aware of that because, yeah, I think victory gardens do have that stereotype of here is a square backyard from the 1940s and here's a little picket fence and you're going to plant all these rows north to south or east to west. And so we wanted to make sure, because we're so much about inspiration, is you can do it in whatever way you can. If it's on a 40-story high-rise and you want one tomato plant, okay, here's how to do it in a container. Or if you want to put a raised bed on your patio because you don't have any in-ground space, then that's an option also. So really, it's just I like to say, and I'm not going to use any names, but there's that athletic brand that has that swoosh. So I like to say with gardening, just do it.
What's that? A message coming in over the wireless? It says, grow a victory garden now. Why, that's the ticket. We'll have food security in the midst of this global pandemic with a victory garden. If only there were one of those newfangled internet podcasts to help us keep growing.
Hi, John Morgan here with the Keep Growing podcast. Join us this season as we learn how to grow a modern victory garden. Learn more at bobsmarket.com/keepgrowing. And you can subscribe on all the major podcast platforms. Let's keep growing to victory. Alright, so to get the full interview, you'll have to check it out on the Keep Growing podcast, which you can find that on our website, or you can subscribe to it with your favorite podcasting app. And this episode of the Keep Growing podcast with this interview is going to be coming out this coming Monday. So we release an episode every other week throughout the gardening season. And this year, as you can see here, we're focusing on victory gardens. And if you go to the first episode of this season of the podcast, we have a nice Victory Garden Challenge certificate that you can download, and you can print it off, post it in your window, post it out in your garden, send us a picture of it to let us know that you're taking up the challenge of growing a victory garden. And I based this certificate off of victory garden certificates from World War II. And both on the podcast and then also on our blog, we're focusing on victory gardening this year. So I'm actually going back. Diane was talking about how their founder literally wrote the book on victory gardening. I'm going back and using pamphlets and different information from World War II and kind of putting a modern spin on it for our blog and then also the podcast. And then they're also doing that over at the National Garden Bureau website. They're doing Victory Garden 2.0. And we're looking at, documents from World War II and kind of translating it into modern gardening, and how anybody, no matter where they live, can grow a garden that produces vegetables that they can use. So, again, to check out the full interview, you have to listen to the podcast, and you can find out everything you need to know about subscribing to the podcast and everything over at bobsmarket.com/keepgrowing. And let's see, I think this will be our third episode of this season coming out. So we do 10 episodes a year throughout the summertime, and then that gives me time during the winter to produce the next 10 episodes. So head over, check that out if you listen to podcasts. And also, we'll plug it while I'm thinking about it. If you go to our website at bobsmarket.com/keepgrowing, there is a link there to where we host the podcast on a website called Anchor. And if you have a gardening question, I'm going to be working on an episode later on this season that is basically like a call-in episode. So if you have a question, you can either send me an email at ask@bobsmarket.com, or you can actually leave a voice message there and I'll feature it on the podcast, assuming it's a relevant question to Victory Gardening. So, yeah, our podcast, this is our third season. It's starting to take off pretty good. We've switched hosts, so we've kind of had some switches along the way. And, of course, with the coronavirus stuff this season, kind of blew my plans for this season out of the water. So, yeah, head over and check out our podcast. The last thing that I wanted to take a look at today is our sale prices. The weather is going to be warming up finally. I can't believe, even today it's chilly out, and it's May 12th. I mean, my land. But finally, the weather's going to be warming up. And also, because of all the coronavirus stuff, we've extended our Mother's Day sale. So instead of just 3 days over Mother's Day weekend, we've extended it out to 3 weeks. So let's take a look at the sale items. We have flats. So those are 32 count flats. And then 10-inch baskets. They are currently 2 for $30. And they're normally $16.99 each. So 2 for $30, that's a pretty good deal. And on the flats, you can mix and match with those. So you can take packs from different flats and create your own mixed flat. And then also, we have 14-inch Deco Pots. And these are really big decorator pots. And they look really cool. Like, some of them look almost like they're like metal, like a bronze look to them. But these pots, they're normally $39.99 each. And right now you can get them at 2 for $59.99. And they make great accents for porches and patios. And the great thing is the pot itself, you can save and reuse year after year. I've got a few of these kicking around at my house that I plant up every year. And it just so happens a few years ago we had pots that matched our house perfectly as far as our brick siding on our house, and brick siding, it's brick house, but also our copper colored roof on our house. So yeah, check those out. We've got a wide variety of them, different color palettes. Some of them have like an ornamental grass that'll grow up and be tall. So definitely check those out. And well, that is our episode for this week. And I don't see any questions down in the comments. So until next time, head over and check out the Keep Growing podcast. And of course, keep growing. You're still watching? I'm done. Well, since you're still here, head over to bobsmarket.com and check out our website. We've got some really cool stuff over there, like the Keep Growing podcast. And if you're watching this on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe, smash that notification bell, and all that stuff. And yeah, I'll see you next time. Bye.